Sheriff Rob Mashel is standing by right now. Sheriff, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Andrew, where's Saratoga water in? Boonville?
It's in Boonville, yes.
Oh, this was very painful, this last 5 minutes. Actually, as my wife says, the last 15 was painful, but certainly the last 5. Yeah. Anyway, Sheriff, have you seen any of that series? Not that you'd have any time between the farm and your job as sheriff. Have you seen any of the series Escape at Denimora?
I have not, no.
It is quite interesting how I can imagine your operation at the Oneida County Jail has to be so much more effective, well-run than some of the stuff that was going on up there in Denimora. According to the series, I don't know how they kept people in the jail. It's really unbelievable.
We've heard stories. I've never been there.
Yeah.
But again, I certainly don't want to Monday morning quarterback someone else's facility because I know how challenging it can be to run a jail. But I'm just like I said, I'm just glad that they were obviously it came to a somewhat decent conclusion.
Yeah. All right, Sheriff. Now you have a state position now with the Sheriff's Association, and you'll be in Albany today. And this is about the legalization of marijuana, right?
Yes, this is actually kind of it's the first ever day for the sheriffs in New York State. At 10:30 this morning, we are hosting a press conference at the Sheriff's Association, which is right across from the Capitol in Albany. At the same time, there are 5 regional press conferences around the state, one of which will be right at the sheriff's office in Oriskany that Under Sheriff Lisi will be heading up. But there's also one out west, there's one up north, there's one down south, and one towards the city. We are basically going to be giving the same message at the same time and the same day regarding our opposition to the legalization of marijuana. And it's not just the sheriffs. We are putting this together, but standing at our side will be the New York State Association of Chiefs of Police, the New York State Association of Health Officials, the New York State Association of Mental Health Officials, the New York State Coalition of Parent-Teacher Organizations, along with AAA, the American Automobile Association of America, along with the Medical Society of New York and the Mental Health Association of New York. So we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
And our big concern is, I guess to generalize this, at the end of the day, my job is to keep the people of my county safe. And by legalizing marijuana, our county will be less safe. And we're going to get into a lot more specifics at our press conferences throughout the day today, though.
You are okay with medical marijuana, is that correct?
I am. We are specifically talking about recreational marijuana. That's in all our opening statements. That's in all our headlines. We are not referring to medical marijuana in any way whatsoever. This is the recreational use of marijuana.
And then, Sheriff, just one more thing. Have you received guidance? You talked about your experience. You know a thing or two about running a jail. Is there guidance on anybody who's behind bars because of, let's say, a parole violation for failing a marijuana test, or if they were selling drugs, or if they got pulled over and they had pot in their car? I know that's not typically something someone gets a 6-month sentence for, but I'm sure you have violators to some extent. Is there any guidance for how you would handle that if this becomes legal? Do they just get let out?
Well, again, I don't know. You know, the one myth that's out there, and I know the district attorney and I, we say this all the time because people are saying they want to stop the incarceration of people, the wrongful incarceration for people possessing marijuana. We have never held anyone in our facility solely on the charge of possession of marijuana. Now, I'm not talking, they may have been charged with another crime and that was attached to it, or they may have, like you said, they may be on parole or probation and they failed the drug test. But again, we are not. We don't arrest and incarcerate people for unlawful possession of marijuana.
Other than felony amounts, right? I mean, you get to a point
if you're selling. Yes. But a defense attorney, in fairness, would say, well, they'll use that if they feel like they've got somebody for something else, but they don't quite have the evidence. They will use marijuana to hold that person. Would you disagree with that? Do you think that happens?
I disagree with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I totally disagree with that. You know, and like I said, I know there's all kinds of studies and statistics. I mean, the one that stands out to me most, the first year in the state of Colorado that marijuana was legalized, there was a 74% spike in fatal car accidents where the driver was under the influence of marijuana. We know people are going to die from this, and I cannot, with a clear conscience, myself, 60 other sheriffs, the State Chiefs Association, and all these other organizations. We cannot stand by without airing our concerns.
Yeah.
And like I said, where this goes, it goes. But it's not going to be because of me when people die.
I would say this, and let's put that aside. And you're very strong on this argument. But even putting that aside, another argument is that is really a complicated issue for places that have legalized, or you take a look at Massachusetts, which is just in the process of dealing with legalization, is the fact that there's a lot of money exchanged here. And because the federal government has not legalized marijuana, you cannot put money in a bank because the feds will take the money. So just the mere fact alone that you have huge amounts of cash that are being stored someplace opens the door for the potential robberies and other nefarious. It opens the door to crime in a completely different way.
Sure, it's a cash-only business, and like I said, we know how that goes. Also, the black market in all these other states, the black market sales have exploded because people are not going to want to pay the 15 to 18% sales tax on the marijuana. They're going to buy it on the street. We're not going to be able to tell if it was bought legally or illegally. And quality of life issues, loitering. The crimes that occur around the areas of where the dispensaries are. Your theft crimes skyrocketing. So again, there's not a whole lot of positive that comes out of this from our perspective. And it's not, like I said, it's not just me. This is a unified message from multiple agencies whose core mission is to keep people safe, whether we're talking law enforcement or health or mental health. We could argue that this is not a gateway drug. I argue that it is a gateway drug. We do interviews with inmates all the time. How many people say that this is where it started, and it led us to this other issue. So it's marketed towards children. They're telling us they're not going to market it towards children. Well, you go to Colorado and stand in line while you're waiting to cash out, and along with the lip balm and the batteries and the flashlights at the cash register and the bubble gum, there's marijuana-infused lip balm. Who is that geared towards?
There's also an interesting social change here that I'm curious to see, because it does, despite what you guys are doing today, and I think you probably would agree with me, I don't think you're going to be able to stop it. It looks like this is headed in one direction, and the governor's office is. But there's another social aspect. Like a parent would have a cocktail in front of their kids. They might have a beer or a drink. But you'd probably almost never, although it does happen, you wouldn't see a parent light up a marijuana joint in front of their children. Does the legalization open up that door socially? That's kind of I'm at the very least interested to see how that what reaction is to that.
It sure does.
Yeah.
We've spent years and we've spent billions of dollars educating people to not smoke tobacco products, and now look where we're going. We then came the e-cigarettes that was the alternative to the nicotine. Now we're finding out these Juuls or whatever they are contain more nicotine in one of them than a full pack of cigarettes, and people are doing this at one time. So it's just this stuff is going to spiral out of control. I know the comments on the social media. There's very little support for the mission that we're on. But like I said, at the end of the day, when I put my head on the pillow at the end of the night, my conscience is going to be clear, along with my colleagues, sheriffs, police chiefs, and these other professional organizations.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that can hear the passion in the voice of Sheriff Rob Maciel. Sheriff, thanks so much for your time. Good luck today.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.